Good afternoon, everybody. We are going to wait a couple of moments so that everybody can join. I'm seeing some of you are already here, so welcome. All right, so let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, The Future of Work, Enhancing Business Processes with Slack and AI Integration. Here at SetDigit, we are passionate about helping organizations leverage with cutting-edge technology to streamline their workflows and boost productivity. Today, we have gathered a panel of experts to share insights on how you can harness the power of AI to transform your business processes. I'm excited to introduce our distinguished panelists. First, I'm pleased to introduce Michael Hodlow, a distinguished leader in business transformation and AI, with over 20 years of experience leading global teams and implementing business systems. As a certified Salesforce administrator and knowledge manager with expertise in AI and privacy, Michael provides guidance on building new strategies and enhancing performance. Please join me in welcoming Michael. All right. So next we have Ugo Osuji, Senior Slack Technical Architect here at SetDigit and a former Senior Technical Architect at Slack. Ugo possesses some parallel expertise in understanding the capabilities of Slack and excels in designing enterprise-level solutions to optimize productivity and foster collaboration. Help me give him a warm welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you. So my name is Ruben Escarzaga. I'm Business Development Manager at SetDigit, and I'm thrilled to be your host and moderator for today's session. Now, let's take a look our agenda for today. So Ugo will start with taking us through a live demo showcasing how you can enhance your business process by integrating Slack and AI. He will walk us through some exciting use cases and highlight the benefits that you can expect. After that, Michael will provide a presentation on how to protect yourself from messing up with the Slack AI, sharing the best practices and common issues to avoid. Finally, I will open a Q&A session where you will be able to ask our panelists any burning questions you may have. And keep in mind that you can submit your questions at any time during the presentation using the Q&A feature. We will address as many questions as possible. All right, so we have packed a lot of valuable information in this webinar, so let's get started. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Ugo to the virtual stage. Ugo, go ahead.
All right, thank you so much, Ruben. Really appreciate it, and thank you everyone for joining in. Can everyone see my screen okay? Are we all good?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. All right, well, thank you once again for making our time this Friday to join us. And I am really excited to be sharing with you today, topics that are really near and dear to my heart. I have spent a lot of my time working on building conversational experiences, building conversational intelligence into workflows and business processes, and work with several different organizations in doing this. And we are at a very, very exciting time with all the AI buzz and everything that is going on. And I'm truly excited to be talking to you today about, some of the possibilities and what you can start to incorporate into your business. Now, before I jump into what I'm going to show you today, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's exciting about this wave of AI. I think the biggest thing, because large language models, for instance, have been around, or AI has been around for a very long time. In fact, first large language models were out there since 2020, so it's not necessarily new. But what really, kind of blew everything up was when ChatGPT launched, and you could see 100 million users in the first few days, or something like that, some crazy numbers like that. And I think the interesting thing about it for everyone was that it was conversational. It was our ability to use natural language to interact with sophisticated system like that and get human-like responses. And when you sort of take that capability and try to think about how does that work for me within my organization, and that's where you start thinking about, what modality am I bringing these types of capabilities into? And that's where Slack comes in. For those of you who may not have prior experience with Slack, I just want to talk very, very briefly about some of the capabilities of Slack and then jump into the possibilities for the demo. So Slack is where we come to do work. And if we kind of look at the past few years and some of the changes in the way we work, some of things kind of stand out. We now have distributed teams. We have people who are working hybrid, remote, people in different time zones and things like that. So it's becoming more difficult to only limit our working environment to a physical space or a physical location. Now we have to find a place in the digital realm where we can come and work together. And this is where Slack really excels. Working in channels, on projects or on accounts or any other initiatives that you might have, or working across organizations using tools like Slack Connect, or making a phone call, or kind of huddling on a particular subject and trying to solve that using tools like huddles. And these are becoming places where your business processes, your people, your culture is all interacting in one place. And that's what Slack is doing to transform, whether it is the largest organizations like IBM and Oracle, or even much smaller organizations who are using Slack. And you notice like a lot of startups, a lot of organizations really prefer to use that because of these particular capabilities. The other things that are really exciting about Slack that don't really show up when you think about Slack, because typically when I talk to people, they're like, oh yeah, it's a chat tool. But what really is really exciting about it is that you can also build sophisticated applications and automation and integrations using Slack. I think Slack has about 3,000 plus applications in its app store. It makes it very, very extensible. You can interact with so many different applications using Slack, and also can orchestrate and build your own workflows right inside Slack using the workflow builder. Other capabilities and that really excite me about Slack, the way I see Slack, the most interesting thing for me about Slack is actually the knowledge management capabilities. And this is one thing, I don't know if you guys know about this, but Slack actually means searchable log of all communications and knowledge. And the key thing there is knowledge. And when it comes to managing knowledge in your organization, what you might find out is that, yes, there's structured knowledge that might be in your knowledge bases and your databases and things of that nature. But there's a lot of knowledge that exists in the conversations that you have with people, over a period of time. Say you start a project right now and you want to bring someone in to kind of onboard them in that project. If you were using Slack to sort of orchestrate or manage that project, they can just join in and see the entire thread of messages or conversations about that particular project. So it's a knowledge base in itself as well. And there are other knowledge tools that Slack have added, including Canvas, AI-powered search, file sharing, and things like that. Now, the other thing, I mentioned IBM and Oracle the other time about some of the organizations that are using Slack. There is an enterprise grade possibility with it when it comes to advanced data security, multi-workspace governance, enterprise-wide encryption, and so on and so forth. But the reason I mention all these things is to say that when you think about bringing AI capabilities into your organization, then you need a unique place for it to live. And I'm going to be talking about some use cases of what you can do with generative AI inside Slack. So today we're going to be looking at a demo. And in this demo, I'm going to be showing you how you can interact with your systems using Slack. And we're going to be looking at 4 use cases. I've only shown 3 here. I'm going to show the 4th one as well. I added it afterwards. The first one is that we're going to be interacting with the knowledge base. We know that these large language models do very, very well when it comes to interacting with large corpus of data, unstructured information, being able to really extract, nuggets of knowledge from these, large swaths of data. So I'm going to be showing you how you do that through natural language. So, you may have spent a lot of time investing in knowledge resources, articles that are written down, your knowledge management tools, and you might be finding that there's maybe a little bit of a low adoption for them, and people are still, ringing up a service desk or still struggling to find that information. And the reason is that the current interfaces for interacting with knowledge are a little bit more cumbersome. You search for information, you're presented with a list of possible places where that information might be. You go in there, it could be a long 6-page or 20-page document, and the person is trying to struggle to find where is this piece of knowledge I'm looking for. So it's a little cumbersome. So what I'm going to be showing you is how you can use the power of AI to extract those nuggets of information that you want using natural language. The other thing that is very, very exciting as well is like being able to take action. Okay, I can interact with different systems to do things, but can I take action through natural language without filling out a form, without going in depth to do to multiple systems to go try and click and click away and things of that nature? Can I use natural language to interact with those systems? That's something we're going to be looking at as well. So I'm going to jump into the demo just to show you what some possibilities are and sort of get you thinking about how some of these capabilities can start to make a difference in enhancing productivity and efficiency of your workforce as we sort of kind of continue to go into this era of AI that we're currently living in. So I'm just going to switch over to my Slack environment. First and foremost, I just want to show you the knowledge retrieval piece. So I have a bunch of knowledge articles that are living inside my Salesforce, and as an example. Now, this could be your knowledge base, could be anywhere. Like it could be Salesforce, it could be Guru, it could be wherever the knowledge might live. I have this, for instance, this guidance for sales, for sales teams with regards to their discount policy. Now, what I'm going to be able to do, and you can see is a long-ish document, has information about different things related to discount policy and stuff like that. And what I'm going to be able to do with using AI is to extract pieces of knowledge from this document using natural language. So now I'm going to ask a simple question. So let's look at volume discounts. Orders over $10,000 require 5% discount. So let's ask a question about that as an example. So I can go in and say, how much discount is given for orders above 10,000 USD? Now, what's going to happen behind the scenes is that the AI system is able to go read that knowledge article and extract the specific piece of information that that solves this particular problem. So think about someone who might be on the road trying to go close a deal, and you're trying to get this information without going into that specific document or searching through all the large swaths of document. You could see that I'm able to go into the system and pull that information out just through natural language. I just, I didn't do any search. I'm just asking a simple question, and I'm able to get a response back. Now, the other thing that is really interesting is when it comes to pulling information from different things. So for instance, I might be trying to pull information about a particular account. I'm trying to get a rundown of, what opportunities are open in this particular account, what cases are open and things like that. Again, using natural language, I can just simply go in there and say something like, give me a rundown of Burlington textiles. So again, this would have been a scenario where I have to go, look into, my system, try to figure out things. I'm clicking around in multiple places to find that information. But here, using the power of generative AI, I'm able to extract that kind of information directly from the account information, providing me the opportunities, providing me who the key contact is, as well as the cases that are related to this particular account. Now, retrieval is all great and good, and it's sort of low-hanging fruit when it comes to generative AI. But what gets me truly excited is your ability to take action. So I'm going to show you a very simple use case for that. So I want to request for a resource. I want to request for a meeting room. And I'm just going to request for that just simply by typing out in natural language. And I expect that a ticket is going to get created automatically, just purely from natural language. So I can say, I would like to reserve a room for a set digit meeting with our clients for the 8th of March. Now, again, what's happening behind the scenes here is the LLM behind this particular application is able to understand that what I am trying to do is not extract information from a knowledge source, but this time I'm trying to actually make an action. And if I go into my case records, you would see that a new ticket has just been created purely through natural language. So think about the time savings here. Think about all the sort of forms your folks are dealing with, and how you can use natural language to sort of bridge that gap and save that time. So systems, think about processes and think about workflows that have typically been challenging for you, and think about how you can use natural language to bridge that gap, because it's all about enhancing productivity, all about efficiency within your processes. You don't want folks spending time on forms, you want them doing more valuable business. And this is where the power of natural language could come in. Now, I know some of you here are leaders of your organizations, and you might be thinking, every time I want to run a report, it's always sort of challenging. I need someone to help me go run the report, or I need to go into multiple systems. How do I get information, in natural language that I require in real time? So I can ask a very simple question here. I'm going to say, I would like to know, I would like to get a graph showing our pipeline. So again, this particular assistant recognizes the context that I'm sharing. It's going to go ahead and it's going to go look at our pipeline and plot it as a graph and bring it back as a pie chart. So we see a pipeline here, everything happening purely through natural language. And this is sort of scratching the surface of what's possible with these current systems, because you can do quite a lot. You can set up your entire help desk and really reduce the amount of time folks spend getting people to help them solve problems. And the uniqueness of doing this within Slack is that this is where everyone works. So it's easy for you to deploy. You're not building new interfaces that people might feel strange about and things like that. You can bring all of these types of capabilities into Slack. And this is something that at SetDigit we've been doing for a long time, helping organizations to bridge these gaps and solve these types of problems. So we'd be happy to talk more about it with you guys. If you have any questions and things like that, obviously you can throw them in the chat. But I'll stop sharing right now and pass it over to Ruben to continue. So I'll just stop sharing right now. Ruben, over to you.
All right. Hugo, that was an incredible demo. Thank you for showcasing the power of Slack and AI integration in such a great way. I'm sure that many of our attendees are already coming up with great ideas on how they can use these capabilities in their own organizations. Cool. So now we are privileged to have Michael Hodlow with us. I'm excited to ask Michael to take the stage. Michael, you're on mute.
Sorry about that, guys. I'll restate all those amazing things I said in the first 10 seconds. No, thank you for having me here. For everyone here, I'm going to present things in a little bit of maybe a different way that you're used to. About 2 years ago, I started writing a couple books based upon my 20-some years experience with big systems, CRM systems, be it Salesforce or Dynamics, and then also obviously more recently with AI, with Slack itself. But the premise of my books are, as you can see here, it says from messing up with Slack AI. My books actually are called not messing up, but effing up. But we're being nice here. But the attitude I had with writing these books is, and many of you may have seen this before, or felt this way, or maybe I'm alone, is the fact that I learn a lot more by either making mistakes and fixing them, or being hired to fix someone else's mistakes, and then once again, obviously, fixing those mistakes. But I was having a hard time with figuring, getting help from that perspective. Meaning, if I went online, or if I tried to buy a textbook at a Salesforce Dreamforce or something to that effect, it's usually here are the 10 things to do, and here, or they're very highly technical, and here are the switches to throw, and here's how to create a field and a formula and a workflow. And what I was discovering with all my years of consulting work and global operations work is that frequently the mistakes were not technical in origin. They were something else. So, my books and my recent work has really been talking to business leaders on a technical topic at its heart, but really in non-technical terms, because I have found that most of the issues themselves are not technical in their root. They're something else. So, Ruben, can I ask you to advance the slide, please? Thank you. So before I tell you how not to mess up, I just wanted to review a few things that the demonstration alluded to. So with your more advanced systems such as Slack and Slack AI, there are a couple key principles here, and I'm going to segue these into the next topics I'm going to be talking about. It's things you can be comfortable with, because when you choose a tool such as Slack, is one, Slack is going to it does adhere to a high level of privacy principles, and not adhering to those principles is where people do make mistakes in the AI, in the chat / Slack AI, whatever new name is going to become of that, because obviously it's a very advanced communication, bidirectional communication tool, and CRM systems. But there is a huge issue out there where AI tools and CRM tools can unbeknownst share information, or that is either your corporate information or even customer information. And these tools, advanced tools, stop that. And a lot of people say, well, you know what? I don't have a CRM tool or a Slack tool, or I don't have to worry about those things. And my point to you is if you don't think, and I sometimes come off as abrupt, and I mean it humorously, but I'm serious about it, because I will tell you right now, I have made plenty of mistakes over 30 years. I've just learned from them, and I'm trying to pass that knowledge along. If you don't have a tool such as, for example, Slack or Slack AI or Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics or any one of the those things, if you don't think you have a CRM system right now because you're not using one of those, I'm here to tell you, you actually do have a CRM system and an AI and not AI and a Slack communication tool. It's just the fact that it's not good. And what I mean by that is that if you are doing sales, if you're leading, production, if you're doing anything that requires these tools right now, you're doing those functions. You're just doing them with Excel spreadsheets, or picking up the phone, or email by itself, where you're working your list off of Outlook and weekly or bi-weekly meetings. And so your system is a system. It just doesn't have formality to it, and it doesn't. And by not having that formality, all of those things that Ugo was saying become a difficult task to do. I mean, I was once addressed to saying, well, we don't have a document repository. I'm like, yes, you do. It's in every file cabinet that I just walked in past going down the hallway. You have one. It just doesn't have a name to it because it's wow. It's so anyway, I'm just trying to say that tools like this, in addition to making things easier, also protect you. Because once all those matters, those privacy things, those files, those records, the contracts, whatever, once they start to have some structure to them, and an instrument such as Slack AI, when coupled with in addition to when even strengthened, when coupled to a CRM system, they become not just easier to call upon things, they become easier because you can contain them and you know where they are. Okay, enough on that. The other thing is because Slack AI is looking internal to your company, you are hosting information internally, so you don't have to be worried about your intellectual property sneaking out through a leak in this system, because it's not looking there, or it's not going to make, if you asked it a decision, tell me about X, Y, or Z, it's looking at your own corporate's knowledge base, not somewhere else. Like if you ask ChatGPT a question, it's looking all over the world. This is looking at what you've told it to look at. So you can ensure that your best of breed information is being used as opposed to something else. Also, with tools like this, like with Slack, you're getting native integration into these big systems. So it makes it infinitely easier on implementation. It makes it infinitely easier for deployment, for security settings, because your administrators already understand how all these screens and all the dynamics interact with each other. And the other thing is that, and what is frequently forgotten about, is that, and I'm not going to mention other very big technology companies, that when they come out with upgrades, people start pulling their hair out. And we can see that's why I don't have any right now. But, big systems in the old world, you had to plan for upgrades, and you had to make sure you had enough horsepower and all this kind of stuff. Those issues go away, right? And because all of these things, as long as you're playing in the identified sandbox, you are protected, and those upgrades happen. Also, while when I mentioned this sandbox that you're playing in, but that doesn't mean, as long as you stay within that parameter, your AI can be highly customized for your processes. And I'm going to get to more about processes and on the next slide. And then the last thing, before, if Ugo was typing in English sentences and getting answers, and he could have kept going with those questions. Like if that graph came back and it wasn't quite right, he could have kept going with those requests. And so you can be anywhere and you don't have to be technical. So that's why I said, Slack AI, it protects you. It protects you from many different reasons. One of them is just protecting you from, going crazy with pressure because you don't know how to get things in a certain amount of time, or who's on vacation and I can't get the right report. All of those things start going away. And lastly, with Slack AI, it is infinitely scalable. Same as your Salesforce and those tools. If you're a small firm right now and you've got the ambition and the ability to keep growing, which I'm sure you all do, you don't have to worry about, is this thing going to keep working when I double and triple and quadruple in size? It will just keep going. So there's the big safety net, I guess I would tell you about. So now to the next slide, I'll tell you about briefly about what how a lot of companies make mistakes. And I'm not going to read these verbatim. I will go over them just at a high level, though. Here's the first thing. Companies focus and I'm not saying any one of you smart people or even me, but I'm just going to say in general, and sometimes people see these things and they say, dude, this doesn't make sense. Of course, no one makes these mistakes. And I will tell you, after talking maybe to thousands of leaders, lots of people make these mistakes. Here's the first one. You have to focus on what is the financial reason you are going to do this. How is it going to improve your bottom line? Is it via cost savings? Or is it via, I'm going to be able to be more nimble than my competition, and therefore I'm going to grow by X. If you are a technologist or a technology leader on this call right now, I will kindly help you out by saying, please, 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 even if you see, look, this thing makes obvious sense. Like when Ugo said, hey, collect a report. Who wouldn't want this? I mean, there's not going to ever be an argument of who doesn't think that is faster. But you have to structure the thing in the eyes of a CFO, a CEO, your board of directors. Yes, it might be faster, but you know what? Quite frankly, if it takes someone an hour longer to get me that report and I don't have to buy this tool, then I'm just going to leave it the way it is. So you have to structure it with, because you're going to be able to get this, because you're a traveling person, because you can get these reports on the airport and customize any way you want. It's going to, do saving 2% here, 5% there, whatever the case may be. But you have to structure it that way, because if you don't, I'm sorry, 2 years down the road, you're going to be asking for someone to say, how are we here? Because people's expectations weren't met. Somebody is going to say, wait a minute, we just paid X amount of dollars for this, and I don't feel like I got X amount of dollars worth. Now, here's the good news with that. This is not hard to do. And tools like Slack AI are game changers. So you do need it, but you need to figure out, what is it going to do for me first? And where is it going to save me money so you are happier as time goes on? Happier with yourself, happier with the software selection, happier with the vendors that you hire. All right. The other thing is, the third bullet point under my first splat bullet point says foster a data-driven culture. I have two sides to that, and one is less obvious than the other. The first one is, obviously, the more information that is readily available and quickly available to your staff, the better decisions they make. Okay. Now, quantify that financially. Trust me, you can do it, but do it as you try to deploy this system to anyone. But here's the other one. If you are a leader, or if you report to someone, you're somewhere in the middle of the reporting pyramid. If you know your leader can pull a report on the fly that says, compare my top salespeople, compare my top divisions, regions, geographies, whatever they are. And you take the idea of, if it's not in this system, it doesn't exist. Well, what do you think is going to happen when that graph comes up and it, gives you a name of someone and the number is not a good number? And you're going to pick up the phone and you're going to say, wait a minute, why is this number so this way? You did it on your own. That person who was not taking the input of information, whichever manner that takes, who wasn't taking it so seriously because, historically on the weekly call, they could just say, oh yeah, my number's X or my number's Y. That's all they had to do. Well, guess what happens? They will correct it because they know people can pull that information on a fly. And all of a sudden, you actually have all your key players playing by better rules, because they know that they need to be held accountable for reports, because reports now don't come out on Friday or at the end of the month. They come out when anyone ever needs to look at them, which is a great thing for leadership. Great thing for lots of different reasons. But additionally, and also Ugo showed you that putting in the information, which probably was not so easy in your old way, usually filling out a spreadsheet of some sort. Now you can do it by a quick sentence. Hey, I got the XYZ opportunity. The value is whatever it is. Create record in the system. Do it on the fly, jump on the airplane and go to the next client. So things become easier. The next thing I talk about is lack of user adoption and training. Okay, lack of user adoption is probably the single biggest problem that companies have, and there are a few reasons. And I would urge you all, if you have these questions, feel free to email me, email anybody on this call today, connect with me, whatever you want. There are reasons why adoption is usually poor. And it's not the top stuff. It's not the financial benefits. These are the users of your system. Why aren't they using it? And I'll give you a few quick reasons. One, because their middle level leader, or even, somewhere in that pyramid structure, is still requiring them to do something, air quote, the old way. Like, hey, you put it into this new system, but I still like to get my, Friday morning, whatever, email or whatever they do. So adoption a lot of time is because another system wasn't sunset, an old system wasn't sunset, or people, and this is what the next bullet point says, somewhere in the mix, there are people not championing, that's a hard word to say, the new system. And as leaders, I will state that you have to be, the hardest decision you make is not the decision to use Slack AI, excuse me. Quite frankly, that should be easy. I mean, the power of it is huge. Yes, you have to tie it to financial goals, but that decision should be relatively easy. And then, paying for it, maybe a little more difficult, but still, it's a decision that you can say makes financial sense. We're going forward. Where the mistakes happen is when the leader, whomever, and I'm not trying to pick on anybody on this session, but when they kind of start to go silent, and you need to be the champion for a system like this before, during, and during operation of these tools. And you need to be visibly and vocally promoting these things, always, whether it's just through, casual, hey, looking at your phone somewhere, or saying, hey, I ran a report this morning, just like I said before about the data. I ran a report before and your numbers don't look so good. People are going to say, you know what, this system is real and my bosses are really looking at this. And then the last big mistake is what I would call insufficient data quality, availability, and then the presumption, it's not written there, the presumption of that you can't treat this system seriously because it only gave me 80% of the answer and I still have to go somewhere else. So what I mean by that is that, and Ugo talked about this, your knowledge, your knowledge bases, they will require you to clean them up. You don't want AI. You think about it. You make a response to a proposal. You might have 20 versions of the final deck that you present, or the final. You don't want all 20 versions. You want the last one. So you do have to go through things, and you have to tell AI where to look and where not to look. And additionally, if you're going to clip this into other systems, which I highly recommend you do, and I highly recommend use a company like Digit to help you out with these things, is that you have to ensure that all along that process, especially if you're using marketing tools like HubSpot and Pardot and Marketo, you have to just make sure all these workflows make sense. Now, the good news is, by doing this, you are helping yourself out for many years to come, because once these things are done, your system will work fast. All those tools that you were just demoed, and countless more, will work as you expect them to work, and not give you answers based upon data that is questionable, not because it's malicious. It's just because, hey man, that was an answer we gave to somebody, but we decided there's a better answer, or we have a new thing. You want to take the old stuff out. So you do have to look at those informations. But it's the combination of those four things right there that I will say that probably 80% of mistakes happen. That's how they happen, via there, somewhere in there. Ruben, can I have the next page, please? Thank you. So, where do you start? Well, I would say, keeping in mind those points from the page before, the first 2 points are pretty similar here. You do not want to find, and a lot of technologists, including myself, over the last million years that I've been alive, will say, this is a great tool. Who wouldn't like it? Let's put it in there, and people are going to love it. They're just going to start using it. That kind of like, if you build it, they will come mentality. And I will say adamantly, that mentality does not work. It may work for a few, technical elite or people that are really curious about AI, but that's not necessarily the people that you want, your salespeople, your professional services people, or whomever you want using these tools. It's not necessarily those people. You need to see what is hurting at your organization. Where are those pain points? And I know this sounds obvious, but the thing here is that unlike an accounting system or a new email system or a new word processor or whatever you're going to deploy, these systems tap into an enormous amount of knowledge at your firm, and they change the way people work. Yes, I think they change it for the better, and I think most people would agree with that, but a change is going to happen. So you have to say, okay, what do people not like? Is what takes too long to do? What is a menial task or manual task that people don't want to do anymore? Where do we have, maybe it's data input errors or, whatever it may be, identify that, fix that with these tools. Scrap the old process, put in the new process, and let people all over the place within your organization say, did you just see how much easier that desk got? And you will be in such a better place than where other people who say, hey, you didn't try the new XYZ tool, and the people are like, I don't even do that. Like, I don't care. You asked me, it shows a graph. I don't use graphs. You want to find out where it's going to impact the most people, even if it's small, to get them in the door. Not the other way around. Don't try to sell your product. Try to let the people come to you because you identified and listened to them about the pain points, right? And then the other thing is, I would say, and this goes along with those first two, it is better, in my opinion, to have a trial, my trial project, an effort that reaches a huge amount of people at a small level, as opposed to a few people at a large level. Okay. So, and then Ruben, you can go to the next page if you want. Ruben? Okay, thank you. It's all right. It's taking a while. I'll just skim through this. I think Hugo went through a lot of these. I'm just going to go down the left-hand side. You guys can see over here. But really where you're talking with Slack AI, forecasting, comparing salespeople, pipeline, requesting common reports, product information, policy information, customer information, and hugely advanced collaboration. Collaboration here can include your legal department, your professionals. So then that's what it says, everyone. There's a huge amount of benefit here. Once again, these people are probably working, if you take any one of those groups, probably a big group in your, from the second column, and then target them and then let them promote your tool into the future. I think, Ruben, my next page. Oh, this is just me. Okay. So obviously anyone who wants to reach out to me, I don't know if this deck is going to be shared or not. But I do have 2 books and I mean it sincerely. I'm not here to sell you guys anything. If you have a question, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to help out in any level. I love networking. And Ruben, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Michael, for that enlightening presentation. Definitely your insights on protecting ourselves from potential mistakes when implementing AI are invaluable. And I'm sure that the people on the room have gained a clear idea and understanding on the best practices and strategies that they can employ to ensure success. All right. So at this time, I'll now open up for a Q&A session. If you haven't done so already, I encourage you to submit any questions you might have about integrating AI with Slack in your business processes, or any of the topics that our expert cover. All right. So wonderful. I'm seeing some weird questions coming in right now. So I guess this is for Michael. What reasons might a business have to hesitate about adopting Slack and AI, and how can they qualify the benefits of it?
Ruben, I don't see these questions coming in, so could you repeat that to me for me?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. It's what the reasons might be for a business to have to be hesitant about adopting Slack AI, and how can they benefit? How can they
Sure.
qualify the benefit?
Yeah, I understand. Okay, so there's a couple things. From a user standpoint, it's interesting. When these tools come into play, there is, the transparency from leadership of these efforts of why we're doing what we're doing is enormously important. And to the point that lack of transparency frequently turns into some level of distrust slash, paranoia by users. And so when you're doing these systems, you have, because and the case in point is this, is that and I'm going to think about your seasoned, I'm just going to use the word salesperson. Please translate that into your own word, a world, or a services person. Is that historically, before these tools, and if you're just talking about deploying these tools now, I mean today, a lot of these individuals, they kept their own internal process, their own information contact list, whatever it was, very secretive. And now you're asking individuals to be collaborative. And then also you now have insight to, or you being leadership or others potentially have insight into, their context, their list of business, their best of breed documents, those kind of things. So there is a very big point that someone has to, from a very high level, at the organization, to say, listen, we're not stealing anything from you. What we are doing is we are allowing you also to have access to more contacts. So when company XYZ comes up on the radar of a potential opportunity, somebody might not know that you know the best person at company XYZ, but now they will. So you will get, yes, you might be giving in, and you might be but you will be also doing more. And there's one point I forgot to mention about all of these systems, and this is a perfect segue into this question. All of these systems have to be promoted at a company with a mentality, what I call the sharing mentality. It is a difference. People, you think people want to share, but on these topics, it's not always so obvious. So a sharing mentality has to be worked into all of this. This is not technical. This is about, we value you so much, we want you to help others, and others are a lot more than just you. So yes, the old way, you might have had your processes, but you only had you. Now you're going to have 100 of you or 1,000 of you helping pitch your brand, and vice versa. So that mentality, and it really helps too if there's a reward and benefit to this at year end, at bonus time, like, were you a good digital corporate citizen? All that kind of stuff works into this. And this, once again, not technical. So hopefully I answered that question.
Yes, thank you, Michael.
Mhm.
The next one is for Hugo. How are these solutions like the demo today implemented? 100% native functionality, 100% services. To what extent is this an add-on deployable ISV app, etc.?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I think it's a combination of everything. I think, going back to what Michael was even saying about, a lot of the Slack AI capabilities, the technical capabilities are there. Like, you can, pretty much get some of these out of the box, depending on what Slack contract you're on. However, I think when you think about deploying AI systems, it starts to be about, all the other things, all the other cleanup, all the other sort of underlying readiness that you have to get through. And I think that's where you need, that partnership, someone who's going to sort of guide you through that process. So I think parts of it are things that are out of the box. Parts of it are things that you have to build for your own specific system. So where is the data living? Is it living in a knowledge base? And then figuring out how to connect that knowledge base. So parts of it are going to require some sort of service wrapped around the application itself. And I think that's where an organization like SetDigit can be valuable to you, to kind of walk through that journey with you, identify the areas that are out of the box, make sure that the roadmap is clearly planned out to ensure that you have a successful rollout of these capabilities. And also we're still very early days in this, so sort of a lot of things are changing on the fly, capabilities coming in and out and things like that. So I think that's sort of where we are right now. But just to summarize, parts of it are out of the box, parts of it are things that we have built custom. So it's sort of that synergy to bring it to life.
Yeah, Ugo, I'm going to add on to that. I would say, unfortunately, it's one of those answers that it's like, it's very hard to answer. But I would go back to what I was saying is the things that you saw that he did were not, and Ugo, you call me a liar if I am, they're not highly customized. They are predominantly, functionality that gets tweaked. But those are kind of like the things that Slack can do. I go back to what I was saying is, to get things that give you like the best information about a product or a best pitch deck really goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's as an entity, you have to do some of your own homework and get that information good so AI can give you the best answers possible.
All right, thank you. So this is again for Ugo. So you showed that the Slack AI integrates with Salesforce, but what about other platforms, and what are the next level of integration that they can have, automating tasks between the platforms?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. We use the example of Salesforce and Slack because with Salesforce, there's a lot of modules that allow us to illustrate like a breadth of solutions. Creating cases, looking at Salesforce knowledge, and things like that. But I think similar solutions can be developed for other knowledge sources if you're primarily talking about knowledge retrieval use cases, but also for taking actions or triggering workflows and automation. And a lot of work is being done in this field to interface large language models with actions or workflows and automation behind the scene, and of course using a tool like Slack to bring it all together. So whether you're and I'm curious actually to hear what type of systems you're thinking about specifically as well. But definitely, if the systems have APIs, then they can be connected to.
Yeah, so to add to that, it seems that they are thinking on something like Hotspot in particular.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, if it's HubSpot definitely. And HubSpot has its own AI capabilities as well that come, along with the tool. But yes, definitely can be connected to tools like that as well.
All right, thank you. So this one is for Michael. What areas of the business do you foresee getting benefit the most from implementing Slack AI?
Assuming you have a leadership group that is fully supportive of this, meaning, they're the champions that I mentioned they will get a huge boost. And I mean any leaders from the top, the C-level and the board of directors, and then any leadership chain of command down the way. Leaders will get a huge boost in their ability to have insight into their own team, other teams, information that they need to make decisions quickly. I know it was alluded to earlier, everything you saw is obviously available. I shouldn't say obviously, is available on your mobile, right? So, and I used to tell my teams about, when they're making, information or custom reports or custom request fields, that if someone can't do it when they're literally walking onto an airplane to go to the next client site with a bag around their shoulder and holding their phone, if they can't get that information and get an answer, then don't bother with it, because there's a better way. So I think leadership at a huge level. And then also, if you have sales teams or you're a professional services firm that uses, any kind of collaborative work to reply to like RFPs, this kind of thing is a game changer, especially in the remote workforce right now. I mean, the collaborative nature of working on documents and then making them best of breed, and then, on the fly, as opposed to before, you might have to make a deck and then send it over to legal or send it over to proofreading. You can just pull those people in and out for a few minutes at the end, and it's all happening at the same time. Enormous. And then the last group is any type of customer support personnel. And I just said three, but those are real big ones. Any kind of support organization where you can start typing in some, or even transcribe a question from a phone or any source into a bot, and get a real answer. It's night and day. So they're the first ones, I would say, but I'm sure there's lots more.
Okay. All right. So we're running out of time. So I will just have one last question. This one is going to be for Hugo. So if you can also keep your answer short, that'll be awesome. So can the integration with AI in Slack can produce reports, progress reports more specifically?
Yeah, I think, obviously, I mean, and this, just to be more general about it, what we showcased is the possibilities. So because obviously there are reports in places like Salesforce, if you do have data, that can be reported upon, absolutely, you can generate reports based on the information you're pulling back. So I think, again, depends on the source of the information, but generally speaking, yes.
All right, thank you. So guys, we're running out of time, and that was an incredible session. I want to take a moment to thank our exceptional panelists, Michael Hotlow and Hugo Osuji, for sharing these valuable insights and your experience with us today. I also want to extend thank you to everybody who participate, and thank you for joining and actively participate in our Q&A session. Your questions and engagement have made this a great webinar. As we wrap up, I also want to emphasize that by integrating Slack with AI, you can empower your leaders, your sales team, and collaborators with instant access to valuable insights and information. And if you would like to learn more about how SetDigit can help you harness the power of Slack and AI for your organization, please don't hesitate to reach me out. The information is on the screen. We will also be sharing the recording of this webinar along with additional resources that were mentioned during the session via email in the next few days. So please keep an eye on your inbox for that. Once again, thank you for attending The Future of Work, Enhancing Business Processes with Slack and AI Integration. We hope that you have found this session informative and valuable. If you have any other further questions or would like to discuss potential collaboration opportunities, please feel free to reach us directly. Have a wonderful weekend, and we look forward to connecting with you soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a great one. Bye.